Hey everybody, it's been a few weeks since I put out a video. I got a couple big changes I want to tell you about, so I made kind of a longer video here. We're going to be looking at some of my stats in a little bit. We're also going to be talking about my race plan here. So before I go any further, first off, my name is Eric. I am 40 years old and I'm training for a marathon, and I decided to make a whole vlog kind of detailing what that process is like. Put out a few other videos, I'll have them linked below. But in this video, we're going to kind of unpack a few things, look at some of my data here, and then also talk about what's changed. So the original plan was I was going to do 12 weeks to a marathon. So I'm not coming at this from like a totally low fitness level, but for a marathon, I was far away from, getting to where I wanted to be. I've done one marathon before that was in February of this year. And shortly after that marathon, I had some really bad Achilles tendonitis that basically knocked me off my feet, and I stopped training just to let my body recover. So now I've been kind of building back up, and I actually hired a running coach to help me out with some of this. So this change in plans actually came from a meeting with my running coach. After a month, we had kind of a one-on-one and see, where things are at and how things are going. And in it, he asked me, he was like, hey, I know you're planning to do the Space Coast Marathon at the end of November. What's your plan after that? And so I was like, well, I'm planning on maybe doing another one in February. There's the St. Pete Distance Classic, and that's the one I did before. I was thinking about doing that one too. And then he kind of pulled it up on the calendar and was looking at like, hey, these are only like maybe 10, 11 weeks apart. That is a really tight turnaround from one marathon to the next, and you really don't get a lot of training time in there. So, in talking it out, he was just kind of like, if I were you, I think I would really just try to go for a big improvement in that the St. Pete one, so the one in February of 26, rather than trying to do two marathons. So I could, try to do one marathon, maybe, edge out last year's time, and then maybe make a little more incremental improvement in this next one. But he was like, if you just go for this one in February, I think we can go for a big drop, like drop maybe 10, maybe even 15 minutes off of my time and really pick up my pace. And so that sounds exciting instead of just going for this little incremental improvement. So new plan is for me to do the St. Petersburg Classic now at the February 8th of 2026. So I've got a long build up where I can do a lot of training cycles, and we're going to be looking at kind of where I'm at right now and where I was before. So doing this one, and I think I'm also going to do the St. Pete Run Fest, do a half marathon there. More or less use that largely as like a training day and just kind of a good check-in, on how things are going. So that one is in November. So I'm a little over a month out from that. And I don't really have a particular goal time in mind. We'll see how it goes. I might just go there and really give it my all. So that's the plan. I'm not going to be doing the Space Coast Marathon now. I kind of like this. This is a little bit better plan. And, this is some of the stuff that having a running coach, really can help out with. Just hearing about the time between the marathons, and running a marathon takes a lot out of your body, and it takes a while to recover, let alone getting back into the training cycles. So anyways, let's check out some of my data here. So all this data here, this is coming from my watch. And if you're running any sort of distance at all, if you're, even if you're doing like a 5K and training for that, having one of these smartwatches is really, really helpful, because a lot of heart, or a lot of training for longer distances is going to be based on your exertion level, which your heart rate is a great way to measure all that. So I have a Coros watch, and this is this Coros hub that you get, or dashboard that you get. Unfortunately, all of this stuff is free when you buy the watch. So the watch, I think, was $230. I'll have it linked in the description. This is not sponsored or anything like that. This is, I've just really liked this product. And yeah, you get all this stuff without having to pay a subscription cost. So let's kind of look at some things. One of the things that has been really helpful in working with a coach, I'm going to just pull up this graph here. So this is my distance I've been running. And so in the months of August, and you can kind of see here in July, I was really leveled out at like about 20 or 25 miles a week. And I was really struggling to go any further than that without my ankle injury flaring up. So I have insertional Achilles tendonitis, and basically my right foot, my heel can swell a lot after a difficult run. And you can see really a huge improvement here recently, getting up to like 40 to 45 miles a week since then. And a lot of that I attribute to my coach, telling me, you think your easy pace is a lot faster than it really is. So I kind of thought my easy pace was right around maybe 8:45 or 9 minutes per mile. He looked at the data and was like, no, it's actually at 10 minutes a mile. And so actually slowing down a lot and really building up my miles. So this is kind of where I need to be at, right at that 45 mile a week mark. Maybe I'll get a couple weeks where I'm all the way up to 50. So part of this was I was only planning to train or trying to train 3 days a week because I do a lot of weightlifting and I have another YouTube channel for that. And I actually do plan to bring some a couple different weight training routines to this channel. Just follow along workouts for dumbbells and elastic bands and stuff. So, if that interests you at all and you kind of like what I do here, make sure you're subscribed so you can see all that. But I have upped it to 4 days a week. There's been a couple days where I was feeling good and did a 5th day a week. But for the most part, my plan is to be running now 4 days a week. And that, of course, helps getting the mileage up. But it's really been about running lots of slow mileage that doesn't put a ton of wear and tear on my body. And my pace is also sped up. So instead of doing 10-minute miles, I'm down to a 9:10. And I think after today's run, it might actually drop down to about 8:45. So I'm kind of excited about, picking up that slow pace to something that seems a little more fun. Because, if you're out there wanting to run a marathon between 7 and 8-minute miles and you're running tons and tons of 10-minute miles, it can be a little disappointing. So I'm excited to get, running a bit faster here. So I can extend this back a little bit. I got this watch in January earlier this year, and you can kind of see what I was running beforehand. And I had a couple weeks in here where I was at like the 60-mile mark, and then I'd have like a slower week. And I kind of can't help but wonder if, this bump in mileage here maybe had something to do with the injury. I'm still not entirely sure quite exactly what happened, but you can see I'm kind of getting back to that healthy mileage that a marathon runner should be putting in. So another thing here, let's check out some of my other stats here. This is a couple graphs on here. Let's look at just my base fitness here. So you can kind of see when I started this, I was still kind of down here, and knowing where I was before, trying to get down to, my previous PR in the marathon, which was at 3 hours and 30 minutes. It really felt like I wasn't on course to do that. And you can kind of see here, I've had a nice, improvement here. So right around here is when I started working with my coach, and you can definitely see my base fitness trending up quite a bit since then. So that's nice. Not quite where it was before, but I still got plenty of time, especially if I'm going to be doing this one here in February. So a lot of time for improvement there. So, other things to get in here, there is, all of your runs get listed in here. And today is, this is my run from today. It was a really nice day down here in Florida, at only 64 degrees. When I left, it was 6 a.m. So that's kind of tough. To wake up at 6 a.m. and run 12 miles is kind of crazy. But my average pace, 9-minute miles, which isn't, crazy or anything. But what was really impressive is my heart rate, 139 for the whole, or was my average heart rate for the whole thing. So that feels awesome to be doing. So yeah, definitely seeing some improvement there. And I do credit a lot of it to doing these slower miles. Now, not everything is slow here. We can see kind of in this graph here, this light blue here is easy miles, or that slower pace. And then I have definitely been doing some work that's a little bit faster at pace, and that's this darker blue here. So those are going to be like interval sessions, and every once in a while I let myself drift a little faster. But you hear like 80% of your run, or 80% of your running should be in this zone 2, and I've definitely been right around there. So definitely I feel like I'm running the right way. So feeling improvement, but like I said, I'm going to be doing the marathon a little bit later than initially planned. So probably, a fewer updates on my marathon progression. But, if you have any questions, post them in the comments below. I'll have my coach's contact link in there as well if you're interested in that. He does online training as well. So like I said, it's just been really helpful. And actually, he just ran a marathon today. This is a Chicago marathon day. As I'm recording this, and he was under 3 hours. So if you're looking for somebody with some good experience, definitely check him out. So that is the update. Again, got the half marathon November 16th, and then the full one is going to be February 8th. Yes, February. So thank you for watching. Make sure you're subscribed if you want future updates. And as always, I want you to be good to yourself and be good to others. And thank you for watching.